Hi everyone, I hope you're all well, and I hope you've been enjoying my videos so far looking at the evidence for the Minoan civilization being the Atlantean civilization. So last week we had a look at the fact that the chief god of the Minoans was Poseidon, just like how the chief god of the Atlanteans was said to have been Poseidon. This week I want to have a look at the Temple of Poseidon, described by Plato as being in the centre of the island of Atlantis. Now, according to Plato, this temple had a very barbaric appearance, and in the centre of the temple there was the bullfighting games performed, and then after those bullfighting games, the bull would then be led off to a sacred pillar with a sacred inscription written on it, and the bull would then be slain over that pillar as a sacrifice. Now, according to the archaeological evidence, it's known that in the centre, lengthways at least, of the island of Crete, which was the main island of the Minoans, there's the famous palace of Knossos. And in this palace, well, it's called a palace, but it's known that it performed many religious functions as well. So it functioned basically as a temple. So that would match the Temple of Poseidon. Now, this palace of Knossos is known to have been dedicated to Poseidon. And not just Poseidon, but also Poseidon and an unnamed goddess. So that matches the fact that Plato describes the Temple of Poseidon in Atlantis being dedicated to Poseidon and his lover, Cleito. Now, in this palace of Knossos, in the centre there was a large courtyard, and it's believed that bullfighting games took place there, based on paintings that have been discovered. And off to the side of this main courtyard, there are these crypts, these sacred rooms, and inside these sacred rooms there's a pillar with an inscription of the sacred double axe symbol, and around the pillars there have been found bones from bulls. So this would lead us to conclude that inside these sacred crypts off to the side of the courtyard, bulls were likely sacrificed, quite presumably the bulls that had been used in the bullfighting games in the main courtyard just a few meters away. So in all these details, the Palace of Knossos matches the Temple of Poseidon recorded by Plato. It was dedicated to Poseidon and his female companion. In the centre there was bullfighting, and it seems that the bulls were then led off to a sacred pillar to be killed as a sacrifice. That matches exactly what we know from the Minoans. And also, in addition, just one final point, the Palace of Knossos itself is famous for having a very strange, very unusual appearance, a very complicated appearance. In fact, it's thought likely that the Palace of Knossos was the origin of the legendary Labyrinth on Crete, with a bull, or rather a minotaur, at the centre, half man, half bull, according to Greek legend. So it's thought that this comes from the fact that in the Palace of Knossos there was bullfighting in the centre. But the point is that it's presented in the legend as a labyrinth because the Palace of Knossos has such a confusing design. So Plato's comment about the Temple of Poseidon having a barbaric appearance would fit very well with the Palace of Knossos. So that's one more piece of evidence that the Minoans were in fact the Atlanteans. Now, next week, or next time I post a video, because I'm not necessarily reliable, I want to have a look at the war between the Atlanteans and the Greeks, and how that matches in far more details than you've probably read before, even if you've read up on this theory before. That matches the war between the Minoans and the Greeks. See you then.